Shows had at least one episode where a character came across as unintentionally sympathetic and another one unintentionally unsympathetic. I can make this into a whole topic of a separate video, but you might be asking yourself, Hime, what exactly are you referring to? Well, unintentionally sympathetic refers to an unsympathetic character that gets more sympathy from the audience than the author intended to, and unintentionally unsympathetic is the complete opposite. Today I want to talk about cartoon episodes where a character or more came across as unintentionally sympathetic and another one unintentionally unsympathetic. I only had two rules. I'm only covering one episode per show, and it has to be both of these tropes, not just unintentionally sympathetic, nor just unintentionally unsympathetic, okay? So before I talk about this particular episode from Affiliate, I just want to warn you guys that this one contains a lot of spoilers for the show, so skip to the next episode if you don't want any of that, okay? Anne and the Planterns invite Sasha, Grim, and Marcy for a special dinner, but because the former two are still in their anti-heroes roles, will they behave well at the dinner and things will go perfectly fine? Nope. But for a different reason. You see, Sasha is supposed to be the one that's meant to come across as the wrong one for getting angry at the dinner, but there's an issue with two characters, Anne and Spring. Not only was Spring was acting incredibly rude to Sasha towards the dinner, but he also went too far on reminding her about her near sacrifice at 10 in the season 1 finale. And for some reason, rather than getting mad at Spring, Anne gets mad at Sasha. Like, what? It's pretty hard to sympathize with Anne because she shows us the wrong person to get mad at her. Yes, they do make out at the end, but Spring still doesn't apologize for her behavior, and Anne still doesn't call. And let me tell you that Sasha is a great character because she was first introduced as a toxic friend to Anne, but thanks to the power of character development, she manages to become a much healthier and better friend towards Star. I mean, she's not like Ponyhead from Star vs. the Forces of Evil, where she's a massive jerk and tried to get rid of Marker in her first appearance, yet the show is like, oh man, Star would be so doomed without her, and I'm like, really? Have you seen her personality? Arthur's big hit from the show Arthur is a pretty infamous example of what I'm talking about. The episode is about Arthur building a mother plane, but when his sister DW ends up breaking it, Arthur becomes super furious that he punches his little sister? Oh my god! And the rest of the episode is supposedly tries to teach kids that violence is never the answer, but there's a lot of problems regarding that. First is DW. You're supposed to feel sorry for her because Arthur punched her, but you can't sympathize with her because A, he repeatedly bothered Arthur when he was building the plane, and B, she threw out the plane out of the window even though she told her not to touch it, and C, she blamed Arthur for building a plane that can't fly instead of apologizing for her actions. And no, despite the parents telling Arthur that they will deal with what she did, we never get to see her getting punished for what she did. In other words, DW got away scot-free at the end. Ugh. Second, the parents fall into the category of unintentionally unsympathetic because, aside of giving DW little to no punishment, they try to teach Arthur that hitting people is not okay. But when Arthur gets hit by Blinky, they don't sympathize with him. Instead, they just tell him, well, now you don't know how DW felt when you hit her. You saying that it's okay to hit people to learn why hitting people is not okay? You see how poorly executed the message is in this episode? And thirdly, Arthur's friends become horrified that Arthur did this, saying things like, why did you do that? She's just a little girl. Yes, but what DW did was wrong. Kids need to understand that they need to obey their parents, older siblings, or anyone whenever they told them not to touch a specific thing. And DW didn't do that. She disobeyed Arthur because she's your typical bratty little sister. Now, despite the episode's negative reception for being a mean-spirited episode towards Arthur and having a mixed messages about violence, the scene where Arthur punches DW has since become one of the show's most famous memes. Alright, people are going to disagree with me on this one, but personally, I think As Von Drake is House of Mouse' worst episode. The plot of the episode is that Mickey bets the professor to see if there's something that he doesn't know over a penny. But how exactly did this bet started?
Here, let me help you with that.
Oh, no, that's okay. I'll ask Professor Von Drake. He'll know what to do.
That know-it-all?
Why, Mickey Mouse, I do believe you're jealous.
Yeah, this bet started it all just because Micmac got annoyed that Minnie wanted to ask the professor for help. This makes him come across as a petty jerk in this episode because he treated like the professor just came in to boost about his intelligence. At the end of the episode, Von Drake loses a bet. But how exactly? Oh, just watch.
Not so fast. You didn't name everyone. Huh? You forgot one.
What? That's impossible. Ooh, who did the professor forgot?
Who? You.
Objection! This ending is a mess I call out for multiple reasons. First of all, the professor technically isn't a guest because he's been shown hosting several events and even helping Micmac and the crew throughout the series. Second, the question was...
Where does everyone sit?
Where does everyone sit? The professor wasn't sitting, he was standing right next to Micmac. And thirdly, there were some actual guesses that the professor missed, such as Cusco and Megara. It's pretty clear that Micmac told him that "you forgot himself" was just an excuse so that he can win the bet. In other words, Mickey cheated. Yes, he's never called her for cheating, and he's the one that gets the happy ending. Man, screw this episode. If you're going to watch it, just do it for the shorts, because the actual plot sucks. Strife of the party from the Loud House sees the twins getting ready for their 7th birthday. Since Lana always do their birthdays in her style, Lana decides to do this one in her own, but Lana tries everything to stop it. The episode's message is that you're supposed to be thinking of your twin when it comes to your birthday. But much like when Arthur's big hint message of violence is never the answer, it's not well executed because of Lana. Her plans consisted of garbage-themed decorations, a dangerous bowl for the guests to ride, and a cake made out of mud, and she never thought that whether her sister Lona or the guests would enjoy it or not. So it's no wonder why Lona is always the one that plans their birthdays in her style and why she tried to stop this one. Yet they still tried to treat it like it was like Lona shouldn't have been selfish in this episode when Lana was clearly being selfish as she didn't think if the guests or her sister would enjoy her birthday plans. Sure, Lona can be bratty and sometimes selfish, but she honestly had a point for once in this episode. My Little Pony Friendship is Magic is a show where the ponies get to their lessons every day, but the mysterious Mare is one where the lesson was poorly executed. Rainbow Dash is seen as a heroine in Ponyville, and to a mysterious pony known as the Mare takes the spotlight as Ponyville's new greatest heroine, and at the end it is revealed that it was actually the rest of the main sis who teach Rainbow Dash a lesson about being a real heroine. You see, they try to teach her that being a heroine does not require to boost about their ego, but I feel that her friends could have just easily told her instead of her making this needlessly complex scheme to upstage her as the greatest heroine in Ponyville. They even outright tease her about being jealous of Mare while praising their alter ego. And also, if I remember correctly, Applejack had an appreciation day when she saved Ponyville from an avalanche of crazy cows.
Hypocrites, am I right, ponies?
Yes, Rainbow Nest can be assuring enough, but honestly, I think this was way too mean-spirited, and I just ended up feeling bad for RD instead. I previously talked about Bubblevicious from the Powerpuff Girls in my video of cartoon episodes that people love but I don't on my own channel, so here I am again talking about this episode because I had a lot of problems that I considered it overrated. Bubbles is tired that everyone treats her like a baby, so she decides to become hardcore. But she goes too far. Supposedly, the episode has a moron that you shouldn't become too tough or you will end up hurting people. But my main issue with this episode is Bubbles herself. She ends up beating innocent civilians and even the talking dog, and she acts incredibly rude towards her sisters, and she never apologizes for her actions. Yes, Blossom and Buttercup shouldn't have teased her at the beginning of the episode, but Bubbles was incredibly rude towards Blossom during the game of Duck Duck Goose. Also, if Miss Keene somehow was involved in this episode off screen, then she was being terrible for not punishing Bubbles for her cruel behavior at the park. Also, I found it hypocritical of how people complain that the MOP episode Putting Your Hoof Down, Fluttershy was turned into a mean-spirited jerk, while ignoring that he realized that she went too far and apologized to Rarity and Pinkie Pie, while in Bubblevicious, Bubbles did the exact same thing and said she never apologized, yet that episode doesn't receive any criticism. Sorry for those that love Bubblevicious. I know the series creator Greg McCracken and Bubbles voice actress Tara Strong love of this episode, but I think Bubbles have way better episodes than this one. That's right, I saved the worst one for last. Stuck in the Wringer from SpongeBob SquarePants. SpongeBob accidentally gets stuck in the Wringer and Patrick makes the situation worse by gluing it on the Wringer. Towards the end of the episode, SpongeBob is supposed to come across as the bad guy for yelling at Patrick at being a bad friend and causing him to cry. But you can't sympathize with Patrick because he was being selfish in this episode. I mean, not only did he make SpongeBob's situations worse, but he did nothing to help him get out of this Wringer. All he did is just take him to Weenie Hut Jr.'s and then later Glove World because he wanted to have fun. In other words, Patrick doesn't care about his friend being upset that he's stuck in the Wringer, he only cares about having fun. If the episode wasn't mean-spirited enough, the citizens of Bikini Bottom decided to take on Patrick's side and accuse SpongeBob for being the bad friend instead of Patrick. Like, what? SpongeBob was suffering in the Wringer while Patrick did absolutely nothing to help him get out of it. Seriously? Because he was slanderous into being a selfish idiot, it's episodes like these that make people question on how SpongeBob and Patrick are still considered best friends. Well, what have we learned from this video? These are the characters that came across as unintentionally sympathetic, and these are the characters that came across unintentionally unsympathetic. And the reason for all of this is because a specific character was acting like a massive jerk and received little to no punishment or earn any character development throughout the episode. This is the reason why these specific episodes that I choose are widely hated by a lot of people in the community. And in my case for Asbon Drake and Bubblevicious. I know those people, a lot of people like those episodes, but not me, sorry. Obviously, there's still plenty of more episodes, but those 7 were the ones that got my attention for this video. So, do you agree with what I said about Asbon Drake and Bubblevicious, or do you disagree? But anyways, what other episodes different cartoons you can think of when a character came across as unintentionally sympathetic and another one unintentionally unsympathetic. Let me know in the comment section, and if I also should make a video just covering unintentionally sympathetic and unintentionally unsympathetic. Anyways, I hope you guys like this video and I see you next time. Bye!